the initial concept was like, how are you dealing with insecurities? How do you cope with them? And how has that changed over the years?
I think a lot of mine come from the fact that I don't like the person that I was when I was younger.
I am a artist at heart, so I seek validation.
Mhm.
Like that's a natural part of it. Like you're always like creating for approval.
Where do you feel your insecurities come from?
I mean, a lot of places, well, one of the biggest ones is not feeling like I was heard.
Is there a space for healthy delusion? And then the second part to the question would be: is the inverse of that learned helplessness?
All right, fellas. So I got a question for the week, and it came because I know that generally as men, we're always like talking about red flags that we have for women if we're vetting, and I thought that it could be productive for us as men to talk about ourselves and try to give women some game. What would be two red flags that you would say women should look out for in men?
From what I found, a dude.
Went upstairs and like Ty, she was watching like a little Netflix show. It was called Ultimatum. I don't really
I've,
necessarily know everything that happened
that's the
upstairs.
one where a girl give an ultimatum to the guy, and he either got to marry her or they break
Well, I
up.
think either or.
I've
Sometimes
I've heard of.
like whatever this. Well, I guess is more or less the girl because the guy's usually the one that's gonna propose type shit. So I asked a really hypothetical, right? It ended up going into like a space where it probably it ended up preventing future arguments. So where I was like, how long would it have taken you to give me an ultimatum? And answering that, like we was able to kind of like unpack some of our communication styles. Like so it was an accidental, really good conversation that ended up unfurling.
So,
Where
so you don't want to tell us how long she
um,
said because I'm interested.
I
I
was
No.
just
think you was
setting
about to
it.
get
I'm
there.
about to say you gotta you gotta set it
Okay.
up for
I
it.
mean, I just want to make sure that was a part of
You gotta you
your
got
unpack.
you gotta let the popcorn pop a little bit. You
Hey, I
know,
just
it
wanted
ain't
to
Real
like
make
not
that.
sure
usually
that that,
like
that
listening to stories.
I just wanted to make sure that the
You like
cheese.
action films
I
or
just like
something. You
extra
like
cheese on my
yeah.
popcorn. I want to make sure that the cheese was in the box. Is all I'm saying.
And you can tell niggas that like action films.
You want somebody to get
Yeah,
shot in the first 90
Yeah.
seconds.
if I don't see nobody bleeding in
Then
the
I
first,
go to fuck her. Nah.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, nah. But I would say like I know I'm a deadline guy
mm,
because I'm a procrastinator.
I
So
got you.
like when it comes down to it, I need, and that's why I like structure in general. Because if I have structure, I can get shit done, and I can make sure it gets done. If I
Mm-hmm.
don't have structure, I ain't doing shit,
Right.
right? But in that, if I'm operating on like a deadline, structure, ultimatum, boundary level, but say like you're operating on, if I say it enough times, you have to just understand it and get it done. In the future, that's going like we're gonna run into problems
Mm.
because of
Uh-huh.
like those are two completely different communication styles that end up not ever having to overlap, and it ends up leading to like a bunch of resentment and different shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
So within the conversation, was kind of like able to like unpack that, like set up like just some different little
Was
fail
it? She didn't
safes.
give you like an actual like time base. It was just after you said it a
Oh,
few
do you want me
times.
to like? Well, I
Hey,
think
hold
that.
on, fella. Before we get into that, you was speaking of good conversations. I want to tell everybody, welcome back to the To Be Fair show. I am your host, Johnny P,
Oh, here, real.
It's cute.
and we back. We
Back,
was,
back.
right in the middle of a good little, I guess that'd be a parable. Some lessons
Yeah. All
in
right. So
in that.
so the way I set it up was um. Wait, I think you wanted me to jump right back into it.
Well,
Go ahead, go ahead.
let,
I
let,
wanted
let, let me
to.
tell the people,
You
like,
saying parables?
subscribe.
Don't parables deal with the Bible or something?
They stories, metaphors. It was. Oh
Mm.
Lord, he gonna fact check me
Oh
before
boy.
we even get into it. Like, follow, subscribe, hit the notification button. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Threads.
A simple story used to illustrate a moral or spiritual lesson as told by God. I mean, as told by Jesus in the Gospels. That's what a parable is.
Mm.
I mean,
I ain't a Christian. That's all I'm saying.
oh, I
You've
mean,
been to the church
I was gonna say, man,
a
you might
bunch of
have a
times.
little,
You supposed to know that.
might have a little hazel. I mean, I ain't know it had to be from Jesus specifically. I thought anybody could tell a parable. My bad,
Yeah, I
God.
thought so too.
My bad, God. I ain't know, but he was telling us a story. I'll let him continue.
So I set it up in the framing of like where we're literally at right now. Like you've moved in, baby on the way, X, Y, and Z. Like what would have been the time frame that you would have been giving like an ultimatum of like what the hell are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I think she said like 2 years, 2.5 years, something like that. And then we kind of like just unpacked it. And I was like, if I say 5 years, da 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 da. Like, you got to like keep pushing the boundaries of shit. But yeah, nonetheless, I thought it was a real interesting conversation. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, you said 2 years. That answers
Okay.
the question.
That's interesting. I like that. I like that. But I guess we got some good topics lined up.
All right, fellas. So I got a question for the week, and it came because I know that generally as men, we're always like talking about red flags that we have for women if we're vetting. You know what I mean? You hear a lot about that conversation, and I thought that it could be productive for us as men to talk about ourselves and try to give women some game. Like, so my question for the week is, what are some red flags? I guess we can try to do like two apiece. What would be two red flags that you would say women should look out for in men? Like two things upon meeting a guy, or let's say, he passed the eye test. You know what I mean? He passed the eye test, you begin in conversation, and what are like some things off of that initial meeting that you would say she should look out for?
I was gonna say, especially at least as we get older,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things I found.
Of course, we're talking
Uh,
about from our age, like,
like yeah, from what I found, a dude that's too superficial,
mm,
that's too worried about like looks and just all the aesthetic. Gotta
mm-hmm,
have like the newest and cleanest. He's always like just just want to look the part more so
mm-hmm,
than actually uh be the part. Because a lot of, especially with social media and stuff, you see guys that do shit just for social media, turn the camera off, post it and then go back and not do, none of that shit they talking about. So I'd say the superficial, being superficial is one. Uh, and to go along with that kind of in the same beast, it's a word I heard the young boy say a couple weeks ago, but it fit because I know people like this. But being a quote unquote hype beast or like
mm,
a trend follower, somebody who's just
mm-hmm.
always like looking to like whatever the
Wait,
internet.
you said that you just heard somebody say this?
I've heard it before, but I heard it used in like proper context. Where I was like, oh, that's what they mean. Like it's a negative.
You was hanging around like a old young nigga. Like that was like cool terminology in like 2012, 13 or something. Niggas like retired that. That's like saying swag or something like that right now.
Okay, well, I just heard it recently
Okay.
from a younger
That's
person,
crazy.
and like it just like ding ding ding. I was like, oh yeah, that's like something you got to watch out for.
Mm.
Uh,
Some of the niggas driving the Class A Benz with the Jordans on. That you talking
the
about
one,
with the
nah,
chain?
it's not that, but I mean that would be one. That
That's a
that
red
definitely that
flag.
definitely would be one. Yeah, A class Benz, red
That's
flag.
a red flag.
But yeah, just hype beast in general. Somebody, because that's a person I feel like that can be swayed into doing bullshit if it looks
Mm,
cool enough. So motherfuckers could be like, let's all, jump off the bridge. We gonna learn how to swim at the bottom. And if it's a
mm,
trend, that's the type of, you just so inclined and that shit means that much, then you'll go and jump off the bridge with everybody else. And so to me, those are two just right off the top red flags that I see in some modern men. I ain't gonna say a lot, but some.
I think something that a woman should pay attention to for sure would be the man in his word,
mm-hmm.
and how consistent he is with his word.
For sure.
So I think that that's a very, very big red flag to kind of like pay attention to. Is he somebody that stands on his word? Is he somebody that goes back on his word? Is he
Mm-hmm.
somebody that changes his word a lot? And if he says something, does he do it? Right? I think that those are like and a really, really important encapsulation of like what I mean, like a man. Um, yeah, I don't know. I'm still thinking of my next one,
You
but
gonna get
I'll
another one?
let you kind of go.
So let's pin back and forth because my second one's a little bit harder to come up with than my first one.
Hmm.
So for me, the first one would be a man that talks about. Okay, so this is also two women that say that actually want a man that's a leader. I would say that this is something that's generally going to be for women that are interested in a man that is a leader of his household or his family or anything in that nature. And then we look at a lot of the red pill conversations that have been coming from us trying to build on the relationship conversation. So one of the red flags is a man that literally talks about leadership and doesn't his leadership doesn't reflect in his own life. That is a major one, because that means you literally dealing with one of these dudes, these broke dudes trying to talk about high value. You know what I mean? Trying to act like they supposed to get all of these this high value shit, and bro, his life does not even have anything. You know what I mean? Coordinate in any way with the things that he says. So I think that, especially at this point in time, with the way the red pill and how men in this time period are voicing our opinions, and you got to be weary of those guys. Those guys definitely are pure cap. You can see the cap, and like you said, just pay attention to his habits and how consistent he is. Those guys would tend to be pure cap. You know what I mean? If his leadership hasn't manifested in his life, how can he lead?
Yeah.
What confidence can you have in his ability to lead? Or why would you have confidence in his ability to lead if it doesn't reflect in his life?
Right. And as we pinging, I would say another one that I would say probably would be how easily is he influenced? And that could be within peer group, just within like random conversation. Like, is it somebody that's going from like this side to that side, this extreme to that extreme consistently? And depending on who's like the most logical in the room, like, or like who's the loudest in the room, we'll just use it as that. Like, are they like so easily swayed, or do they have like an actual foundation in like in something? And this isn't like saying that you can't be with somebody that changes their mind and evolves, because I think that that's a different thing, right? But if you're consistently going back and forth or whatnot, I think that would probably be something that to kind of pay attention to. Like, is he like, because all his friends fuck niggas? Do we feel like he got to do fuck nigga shit? You know what I mean? All his friends smoke, but he don't really like smoking, but he gonna smoke or drink or like whatever like a vice is. It doesn't even have to be something on side like a completely ideological driven base. But I think that that'll probably be another red flag if we're talking about like finding a really solid man. Yeah.
And then the last ping. Hold on, let me get my last pong. He pinged me. Let me get my pong, bro. I just want my pong, and then we out. And so my second one would be paying attention to his friend group. Paying attention to his friend group, because most often, he's going to be a reflection of the guys around him. The men that he keep around him will be a reflection of either who he is or what he's looking to be, or like if these guys around him are very thing based. If he doesn't have the money now, but you better believe he's aspiring to get things. It's not based in any kind of. It's not based in any, like, it's not a morality thing. It's not based in a position. It's based on thing. And so, like, or if like you were saying, it's kind of very similar, and actually it's very similar to what Johnny said as well. Is if he's excuse me, if his friend group is a bunch of dudes, niggas ain't taking care of their kids. You know what I mean? Pay attention to that. I ain't saying that every man in the friend group ain't necessarily gonna have the best relationship with their baby moms and be able to have the best relationship with their kids. But if this is a consistent thing around amongst the men that he has around him, better believe that, you know what I mean? 9 times out of 10, because the thing is, we have to check each other. We have to hold each other accountable. So how are you gonna hold me accountable for the same thing that you're not doing? You know what I mean? So that means that there's nobody around him that can hold him accountable for the things that he's doing or saying. So you definitely want to check the morality and, you know what I mean, of the friends that he has around him in his group.
No, that's a good one. I got 2 things. I'll get to you, too. I just want to get these 2. Basically based on what Q said, as far as like being easily influenced, especially at like the big age of like 30 plus. If you still like ain't found like who you are and like follow a solid foundation on like your character, and you still like looking for like validation on the outside, that's a huge big flag. Because
I think that's probably. Never mind. I ain't gonna throw to that because it'll date the conversation. But yeah.
I mean, it's especially at 30 plus, like versus 20. If you're 20 and doing it, it's a little more understandable versus if you're 30 and doing it. To me personally. And then I guess I had a question for you, but based on like when you said leadership, I was gonna be like, how are like how are those dudes like still like fooling people? Like because you always see it's a guy that ain't doing it, but like if you look at it, he'll still have like some semblance of like winning, and success. And it's like how are these guys still like?
I mean, and the last part of what you were saying, I didn't really follow that completely, but based on just your main question, how are they fooling people? I believe it's because I don't know if a lot of women have actually experienced decent leading men. I don't know if a lot of women have experienced that. I think that generally those guys, a lot of the guys that end up learning the leadership thing a little earlier, they kind of get married younger. You know what I mean? They kind of settle down and settle in a little bit earlier, and they take if they see a gym out there, you know what I mean, and you a dude that's like on that lead time, like if you find one, you snatch her and you cuff.
You're gonna do that
You end
early.
up cuffing. You know what I mean? But and then I've also they're not in our age in our generation they're on in our 2-parent households. You know what I mean? So a lot of women don't grow up seeing it, which is a lot of men don't grow up seeing it either. So it's come few and further between. I mean that's my best answer to how they are fooling people. And then we also just because money doesn't just like I said the things like you said too the superficial. Though just because you realize or you got a good job doesn't mean that you're a leader. Just because you have a decent job don't mean you're a leader. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean that that actually means a lot of the times that means that you can follow direction very well. Having that good job, you know what I mean? It could simply just be that you can follow direction very well and listen to what they're saying and execute what it's told to you.
No, that's actually true. So, what you got, Tony?
Well, for one, I was gonna say like a red flag for a lot of women might not be the same, or a red flag for a lot of people might not be the same as like a lot of like other people. So it's like for one woman, it might not be the same as another. But one of the things I was gonna say that's big is like paying attention to how he treats people, how he treats people in general on the everyday. Like if he opens the door for women when they like the women that he sees on the regular, like pay attention to how he treats people and how he talks about people. Even the people around him and everything, because you can learn a lot from that. If he's talking to you all the time about people he knows and he's talking shit about them, he complaining all the time, he's more than likely gonna do the same thing when it comes to you too.
Complaining is a big one too. Things that complain all the time.
Ooh,
Yeah,
That's about a red flag too, bro.
I hate a whiny ass man, bro.
Bro.
Like that shit crazy. Like
yeah. I definitely say I think that's with anybody. If you pay attention to like how they interact with other people, you can learn a lot about how they'll do with you.
Somewhat. I think. Well, this is I guess it's tangents, but I'm gonna try and get to the other question too. What I have learned is that people have different communication styles. Complaining is a communication style for sure. That's something that I paid attention to with like a lot of different people. This is men and women. That you'll see it a lot where like the way some people like have conversation is by like expressing a grievance and then talking through it and different shit like that. Or more than anything, and not necessarily like I don't know. If, I'm not standing on like the fact that that's a good trait or a bad trait.
Okay, got you. I got you.
I'm just standing on the fact that like
It is
I've
a
noticed
communication
that that's
strategy.
like a way people have conversations in general.
Got you.
And I did want to circle back to like your question. You said that how are like these guys still winning?
like the fresh and fit type
Or
guys.
confused, or he said,
Well,
how are they able to get away with it? Like,
get
how
away,
are they still getting away with
because
it?
I think the simple word would be like superficial, and I think it's superficial two ways, and I think that quote unquote the red pill has confused people on the way so many people and women included date also. A lot of dating, a high majority, especially top dating that shit, is not based off of like your money. It's based on attraction. In which, like, if you're a guy that passed certain eye tests, you can be a fuck nigga. But guess what? You still
Double fuck.
right, like but we all know this is true.
Yeah.
Like if
If you
we all
pass the
know
eye
it'd be
test,
like
for
another
sure.
nigga look like he get bitches.
Yeah.
He do, and he gonna keep getting them. And y'all know it, like, and like this is the weird thing that's like completely ignored is that like it be the what they call it the hobosexual niggas. Like as long as he like he can find a female that's gonna house him, he gonna be alright, and he keep finding females that's gonna house him, and that's why he's winning because of Like,
Okay,
there's not one strategy that just wins. It's not like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
just get a bunch of money and then that's the thing. Women be also like attraction.
They
They
do. They
like
do.
being aroused.
yeah, no, that makes sense.
They
Yeah,
probably gonna mostly settle for the nigga that got the bag, and it's kind of like, man, what we talked about settling up earlier
yeah.
and settling down, like inside the terms, like she'll settle down for the nigga that make way more money. He's settling up because she just, you know what I mean, she just tired of like dealing with fuck niggas.
That's
Nah,
weird to
that
think of
makes
that as
sense.
like settling up. It's like in my mind,
Well,
I
this
think
is like
that
a pre-conversation,
that's-
and
no,
which
no,
like
no, I got
it's
you.
really nuanced.
That's
I
one
got you.
concept. Yeah, that's not like the.
Yeah,
Oh no, I was there. Y'all don't sit there and talk like I wasn't. I was there. I got what y'all talking about.
This is for the cameras.
Yeah, I don't
Our
necessarily
audience.
think that like to me it would make sense that the dude that's less attractive with more money would have a better looking chick. I think that the women if
Right,
women
and she's settling down in attraction, but like
right
inside like
Filling up in
provision, she's
lifestyle.
like settling up.
yeah,
Right?
but to me
see,
that makes sense.
she taking an L when it comes to like, do I actually like
But my thing
get
is,
wet when I look at this nigga? Do I actually want to fuck him? Or am I fucking him because it's a means to end and I ain't
sheesh,
got work no more?
that's rough. That's rough.
Like, let's not like there's some women that's fucking niggas so they ain't gotta work no more.
No, for sure.
That's a
No,
tough
like, I mean,
lifestyle, boy. Like imagine
That's what most of like
imagine
the
going to
red pill
bed.
shit is built off of.
You go
I
to
want to
bed.
get
And
a
you hate
woman that
shit.
looks so good that she gotta fuck me
Hold
so
up.
she don't work no more.
and let's talk about this, bro. And I was having a conversation with this about one of my guys, with one of my guys recently. Is
Yeah,
like
that's the perfect way to put it.
we've literally
That's so
allowed
funny.
for, and I think this is the same thing where what was it they were talking about how women love to talk about, or we say like women would talk about what they not gonna do on social media, but then you look at their life and they just pretty much done
They doing
settled
all
for this
that.
nigga. If you base it on, they settled way below what is on the social media that they be posting, and
Okay.
I think that
I'm talking about the internet right now.
yeah, the internet, yeah,
Yeah.
the internet versus reality.
Yeah.
And damn, I wish I wouldn't even went there because I fucked around and missed my point. But it was about me.
Just wanted to say why you thinking of it. That was definitely a callback to a previous episode.
Let's see what he did there. But that's why these women be at Turks and Caicos just taking a picture of a motherfucker hand.
Oh, this is what I was gonna
Because
say.
he's probably a goblin. He's a gremlin.
Imagine-
Like, you pour water on him, he turned into something.
Motherfucker.
yeah.
Oh, I was going. And another thing that like the fresh and fit, and I want to see because I know you like murdering that whole the idea of like this manosphere conversation, and this is something
Some of it.
that I don't
There's some
quite.
beneficial shit. I
It was
actually
like
gonna
a-
bring
like-
up some Andrew Tate shit later. But go ahead.
But how high do you actually think that at this point for real that men are prioritizing this idea of a 10 woman? Do you think that men, like decent men, regular men, like I'm talking about even like decent earning men, when I say decent, I'm talking about, between 70 and
Here's
you know
my
what I mean? Do you
answer.
think how
you ain't
far
gotta, like,
how far
unpack
do you think that they prioritize her being a bad Joan?
I think niggas just be talking. So I think most of it's the internet, and the reality is that, like, a really good, sound, moral, good guy that's not wrapped up in superficial shit. Like, you're just trying to find not like just the most beautiful woman. You're trying to find a quality woman
Right.
more than anything. And like quality can be wrapped up inside a different, like, couple different things. Well, like, looks is a part of it, but like the person that she is also just like a major piece. Like, how reasonable can she raise your kids? Is somebody that you want to have kids with?
Yeah.
Like it's like a litany type of thing. Is this somebody I can bring around family? How does she act around friends? Like, how, like, there's so many things that come into it. And I think that the regular guy, like, no matter where you put like an income limit at, until you get into like these extreme levels,
Right.
where now we're talking like entertainers, fucking like high powered lawyers. We're talking about rappers. We're talking about shit like that. Then now they skewing back down to low hanging fruit that just look like, you know what I mean, Hottentot pretty much.
Right. But the cute plain James joints is what's winning right now, bro.
I think one thing
They
that's
ain't never stopped winning.
They ain't never stopped winning. But I mean,
they
it's
was
just for
never
the conversation.
They
it's
was
just
never
like, bro,
losing. They was
Red
never
Pill
losing.
was trying to
definitely
convince
winning.
women to not have to work and like wife up or marry a ugly dude. I think
Yeah,
that's pretty much
That's
like
what they was doing.
who was the dude on the boat? Was that fresh or was that fit?
I don't know which ones are
the
who.
Was
I'm
that
about
fresh or
to-
was
The
that
dude
fit?
that was
Dark
on the
skin
boat.
one. I think it was the dark skin one, wasn't it?
Yeah, the
I
dark
didn't want to throw
skin.
no colorism.
Was that fresh or was
Because
that
the
like
fit?
you know what I'm trying to say, but I don't want to make
I
one
ain't
to
even
think
go
that
there.
we
I was
saying
just,
he ugly
I was
because
just
he
talking
dark
about that
skinned.
boat.
Oh
The
no,
man
it
look,
ain't because you
the man
dark
look
skin, bro.
crazy,
You just
crazy on
ugly,
that boat.
bro.
But
Bro, I
no,
think that question went over their head.
yeah.
He
But
said,
no,
was that fresh or was that fit?
the one out. My thing is my answer to that question is like dudes will say like I want that 10, I want that thing, but I think like I know for most men, what's way more important is like that sexual satisfaction piece. So like
But that's also a fact
if
too.
if she is 6, but she knocking your socks off, and it's a 10, and she just laying there, a lot of 9 times out of 10, dudes gonna always go back to that 6 because that's their
Or 10
satisfaction.
with bad box is
Or bad
different
box, yeah,
than
yeah.
a
10 with
6.
bad box or a 6 that's blowing your socks off. I'm going with the 6.
Boy, fix that. Yeah, did she a cooking dog on clean
And if you
too? Or
know
she just
about,
stuff
if you heard the last episode, you know what Johnny do with his socks.
Oh, the fact Johnny in them damn socks.
And he'll wash it with his
Then he
regulars.
was. I was just about to say that.
He'll
Like
wash it
what?
with his regulars too.
No, bro.
He liable to do anything.
No. What you call it? Wild boy.
That was
Wild boy.
Wild boy.
yesterday.
Wild boy. Wild sock boy.
Wild sock bull. I put it in with my towels. Like
Right.
they'll do anything.
I was like, what are you saying? You gonna put them drawers on?
Hey
You
man,
know?
that's why you know I need somebody to teach me. You
I
know,
don't want to teach you shit about how you gonna wipe your
Now his
jaw.
woman got that's something his woman gonna teach him.
yeah, the
Yeah.
separation. You know, I go light dogs towels, but
This is why we're putting in applications for Johnny. We're putting in single applications to women for Johnny.
oh man,
He's a guy. He has a
We gonna
full
put
time
a-
job. He works
Got his own
6,
car,
7 days a week.
own place.
He has his own place.
He got an OnlyFans.
Johnny has the OnlyFans.
Johnny's P.
Johnny's C.
And with, you know, like if you're interested inside like that side of the game, he says he's an intellectual too. He'll talk to you about Ukrainian written newspapers or something. I don't know. He'll do anything sometimes.
hey,
But
hey, you got to know a little something. If you knew better, you do better.
All he
Load
wants
the
you to
gun
do
coat.
is all he wants you to
You
do
know
is
what's
teach him
up
how
when
to
you rolling
separate
up.
his socks from the rest of his clothes.
Hey man, hey look, we'll get there one day, man. but until then, I'm gonna go ahead and put a pin in it.
so I kind of have a concept / question. Well, I'll leave it as a question. I was watching randomly enough, I was watching some Andrew Tate shit, and he was talking to a psychiatrist, and it was just like talking and unpacking things and like his ideology X, Y, and Z.
Was she
and-
male or female? I think it was a female, wasn't it?
No, it was a man.
It was a male, okay.
Yeah, it was a male. And but no, they got into a really interesting space that I kind of agree with him on. Where he was talking about what they was talking about was depression, for example, right? And he has like a take where he says that depression doesn't exist.
I've heard
Right?
him say that,
It's
yeah.
not like a thing. I don't believe in it.
Mhm.
And the guy was like, well, you know, like there's medical facts, there's da. And for him, he said, like, I understand that. But to me, if I don't allow myself to believe that it exists, I can't allow it to affect me. And so by that being delusion inside that factor, it gives me the power to make sure that I don't allow this thing to happen. Because of I don't allow my train of thought to kind of go down there. And I thought that was interesting. It was powerful. And like, to be honest, I kind of identify with that a lot. Where for me, I consider I don't really have a lot of bad days. It might like be things that's happening and shit like that. But I kind of like my perspective on it is kind of what shapes me from not having bad days. And like, is that delusion? Sure. But is there like a such thing as a healthy delusion? Is like there's healthy delusionals, where the reality would then be, if we extrapolate this into a bigger conversation, like if I look at what my upbringing says, right? What neighborhood I came from, X, Y, and Z, statistically, I should be inside like a different space than I'm at.
Right.
Right.
I'll see.
But for me, I was never constricted by that thought.
Right.
Could one say healthy delusional, right? In which, truthfully, if we go by averages and statistics, how many single parent mom, like single parent mom, like you shouldn't be as successful as you are.
Right.
So if reality wise, if we're talking when you was a kid, the dream that you was here would be delusional. And is there a space for a healthy delusion? And then where I like kind of like the second part to the question would be, is the inverse of that. Like if you don't have healthy delusion, is the inverse of that learned helplessness? Where you start like blaming everything on like the structures, the power that be, X, Y, and Z. And that's your crutch to an extent.
I love
because of like you're just like living in what the is. But yes,
you know, hey, there's something. It's crazy you say that because one of mine is right. So like I'm getting going a little further and further in my walk in my spirituality. Right.
Okay.
One thing that I've come to is I don't believe in the devil. And that delusion, what do you call it?
A healthy delusion.
Healthy delusion. The thing is to me is that no, it's not the devil. It's you. It's your decision making. You pass the buck and pass the blame off and try to leave yourself without accountability because something outside of you is forcing you to do said thing. So for me, I don't believe, and I understand that based in the word, the devil, that there is an existence of this negative force. But for me, I believe that these things are all within my reach. And that's what makes me a God, little g, is that I have the power to influence the things around me to manifest what it is that I would have them manifest.
You say God, little g?
Yes.
What makes you a God?
Right, little g.
I.e. little g. Okay.
Right.
Gotcha. I guess like I can kind of build on the conversation that you was going, which is not like specifically aligned, in which I think that I was kind of like coming to a space where I don't think that I'm directly, I think the term might be like monological, where specifically I think that there is a singular explanation that we can all like agree upon that explains the world as it is.
The creation.
Something
like the creation
everything.
of the
like whatever version. Like we can go politics, creation, religion, X, Y, and Z.
Gotcha.
In which like I probably like identify way more closer inside like most things, like perspective wise, would be like this is like word salad shit, but it's like existential nihilism, right? Where and this is where delusion comes in as well, right? Because I do also like at the heart of where I'm at. I probably like more times think more my initial thought is that most shit doesn't matter and it doesn't make sense and it's just what it is, right? But the existential part to it ends up lying on the fact that I do believe that whatever you believe matters most.
Exactly. For sure.
So like when you tie those both things together is that like as long as you have a belief system that you can believe in and that's what matters to you.
And it helps you
and
to achieve whatever it is you're
looking. Then that works most best for you.
Agreed.
And that's kind of like my perspective that I almost kind of like carry across every single thing. Yeah.
So like, and I realize that like a lot of people, I think that like, and I know that like I understand what you're saying right now, and I'm just gonna go back to where I was. Like the idea for me to, I think that especially in these times, and then this is this is a little tangent, but anyway, in these times I think that we give the devil too much credit. I don't believe in him. I don't think he ain't really got no power over me at all. He ain't really got no real influence over me at all, and I'm cool. I don't believe in him. Or it, what, him, eat, whatever, him, she, hey, they, thee.
Lucifer.
Whoever you want to go, I don't believe in.
Wait, so are you saying that?
Hey, I was just allowing the devil to have pronouns. That was all I was doing.
The devil about to get y'all canceled talking like that.
That's what I'm saying. He'll jump off the cliff.
Yeah.
Go get you canceled talking like
canceled, I guarantee you that's the devil.
Hey, I just sent you the video of the buddy. You seen it? About how they canceled or demonetized what you call it? What's you said, Fresh and Fit, and then We Need to Talk, bro, just caught another strike. He's setting up another.
We Need to Talk did too?
Yeah, he
I
about to
didn't know
get
what he
him
was
out
getting
of there.
demonetized for.
That's my boy, though.
He couldn't bucket himself with Fresh and Fit, though. But
but yeah, either way. That's another
you sent me
conversation.
like 3-hour video. So
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, damn, I wish he sent timestamps.
Oh, yeah. I would just fast forward till it starts. He'll start talking at some point.
Oh, okay.
And let me hop in on this because I agree. It's a great concept. Cause, excuse me, it reminds me of a lot of like even some of the previous conversations we had. Because I don't think the opposite to like that healthy delusion is always learned helplessness. I think sometimes it could be just bad character or like I think there's a lot of other like negative things that can come on the opposite.
Well, I think a lot of people live
it.
inside like per se like quote unquote status quo reality,
Right?
In which it doesn't have to be either or of that. Like, to an extent, you're kind of being like, damn, for lack of like better internet terms, you're being a bot to an extent. Like you're just a cog inside.
Yeah, you just repeating. But what I consider it is, or what I try to do is like, because I do have some of the delusion, but what I've always considered it would be like compartmentalization, and like I can think this, and if like you say, what matters to you matters most. If I put like what I think matters in this box, I can believe all that other stuff, or it can make sense to me, but I just choose not to like engage my mental in the like the blaming, the victimhood, the woe it's me. Even though I know that's a thing, I know that like that reality exists for a lot of people. But I seen somebody say like if everything's my fault, then I can change everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if nothing's my fault, then I'm powerless to everything. And so I consider it that part of Kamara. Is that what you? Okay, well, okay.
It just wasn't him,
as quoted,
I'm just joking.
as quoted by Q. I'll give my source. As quoted by Q.
This nigga raised his hand, try to get his.
I need my extra credit.
He wanted
his source cited.
He wanted his source. He wanted to see the what they call an annotated bibliography. He was trying to check
listen,
that.
Johnny beat me in the poll this week, so I got to make sure I get my credit.
Well, yeah, no, that's what, but it makes sense though because if it's all about where you choose to, what compartment you choose to put your power in. If your power is in victimhood and helplessness, then that. But if it's in like being motivated, self-driven, not gonna let anything stop you, then that's more times 9 times out of 10 that's gonna be your reality versus the opposite.
And I guess I like to build this off of like a little more background of like the victimhood, learned helplessness part, right? In which this was the previous topic that I did want to bring up, but more so this week. It was another thing that triggered it when me and Todd, we was just in here and she was listening to like one of the little podcasts that she listens to. And they was giving like a recap of the Charlemagne, Larry Elder conversation. And the woman that was speaking, she was kind of like going down more or less like, oh, he said systematic racism doesn't exist, right? Today. And my thing was that, because she was going down like this whole list of like, hey, well, there's policing in the hood, and that's like a version that is derived from like the whatever laws in 1890, and to me, again, like as we continue building on concepts, right? When I brought up the idea of like self-autonomy, quote unquote, to pull yourself up by the bootstrap mentality, I said that it's good as a personal like perspective.
Right.
I just don't agree with the idea that it is good for the government to actually do that. Right. And where I don't agree with like black people is not, that's a bad way to frame it. What I don't agree with when we look at the social structure and where black people should go is being stuck in diagnosis phase. So to me, if we're just going to sit and talk about like everything that's ever been wrong and we're just staying there and there's no actual solutions that's being presented, I think it is a pointless conversation.
For sure.
Because of like, who cares who can do the best job diagnosing the problem?
Right.
We all know the problem. But then guess what? no matter what, the problem gonna be there. Like if you want to say like shit is here right now, if you want to say it's like a big thing or a little thing, guess what? You still got to get up and do shit. Mm-hmm. So what's going to happen is the fact that either you're going to find a way, or you're going to use it as a scapegoat. And so, like, just sitting and like parroting, like, well, nah, but we really are this, that, and the third, is not actually beneficial after you actually understand the concept, and then it's time to move past it, Johnny.
I was gonna say this brings me back, and if you guys been here for a while, go check season 1. But one of the big concepts we even started out on was the accountability versus empathy, and that was a big, and a lot like it. I can look at a lot of situations and base it on like, are you gonna take accountability or are you looking for somebody to show you empathy? And I think at the time I was real big on the empathy, and y'all was like, well, accountability, and I agree with y'all. That was probably one I was on, but then if you put it back on like today's thing, it's like that self-delusion. That's that form of that like accountability. You're gonna be accountable. I'm gonna be in my head. I have to be accountable, so I'm not even gonna let any thoughts that would allow me not to be accountable seep in. And on the opposite side of like this learned helplessness, you're just a person that's always like, no matter what you achieve,
you're always searching for empathy,
and you always just looking, for that empathy. Well, I could have did it if, it's always a but or always a if. And when we went to the conversation about the pulley up by the bootstraps, my only thing was, I just think as a society, as a culture,
you took a big L on that.
We need to have more accountability, and I think we should lean more into that accountability on the cultural level, not necessarily a governmental level. But
what you're talking about is individually.
But individually,
well, that's the same thing we said at the. Okay,
it builds into community.
I got
it
you.
builds into community, and
I got you. But going back to your you said it was delusional, healthy delusion.
Yeah.
And I was looking at a J. Cole interview recently, and that's why what made me think about, you know what I mean? If that's were you inspired by that? And J. Cole was talking about that he had literally the only thing that got him to where he was the delusion that he was going to get there.
But that's most people.
Because there was so many reasons as to why it was not going to happen. You know what I mean? That he said he didn't even talk to his mom about it. He didn't talk to anybody about the fact that he was going to do what he was doing. He literally just became a rapper, started rapping, kept rapping. He didn't go and tell, hey, I'm going to go and do this, and I'm going to do this, and tell the people what the plans was, because there ain't no reason for me to leave myself open for what your disbelief in me is. I'm just going to go ahead and run with my delusion, and this is what's going to take me. And I let this take me all the way to where I am now. And so it literally, like, he on the interview, he was talking about how, like, that the delusion is what made him what we quote unquote would say is successful.
And by that, rappers mortgage your house for your career.
Fuck no.
Is that what you were saying?
No.
Oh, my bad. I heard that.
No.
Go ahead and quit that 9 to 5. Your boss be hating.
Everybody be hating.
I would say that's more of a delusion.
Healthy delusion.
I just wanted to make sure.
That's what I was about to clarify.
Like it is important.
I'm listening to this concept, and I don't know if I actually believe in a such thing as a healthy delusion. Because more so what it sounds like y'all are talking about is visualization and self-motivation than healthy delusion. Like, I think delusion is like believing in a lot.
I'll define it. Well, I'll give a better version maybe.
But hold on, before I don't want you to give a better version because the version you have is fine.
Well, I guess
what qualifies it
further. So this
I'll let you go ahead.
This is what I was saying is that
let them cook.
And as we talk through the concept, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of us actually defied statistics?
Exactly. That's what
that's more so what I'm saying, right? And that's something that's not spoken about. And I wonder, like, maybe we should get statistics for that statistic, right? Like, how often are people defying the statistic? In which there's a lot of people that I know that came from where statistically you're not supposed to.
And that's the more productive statistic. The more productive statistic is how many people actually defy
overcame a hardship, overcame adversity,
they need to look at the statistics
poverty, and overcame whatchamacallit. Because the reality is that, like, if you are only like stricken to whatever like they say is supposed to happen, that is learned helplessness.
Right.
And that's kind of like, again, as I tied it back together, maybe Tone that.
Okay, so let me give the definition of delusion real quick. A
Okay.
delusion is a false belief or judgment about external reality held despite incontrovertible evidence to the contrary occurring, especially in mental conditions. So somebody believing that they can achieve something to me is not delusional. I think you have to get it into yourself to believe something. Like I think delusional would be like
My turn this time.
I was about to go somewhere I didn't want to go, but yeah,
Go ahead. No, I want you to go there. I
Nah,
think you're about to go.
I was about to say like delusional would be like thinking you're
Oh yeah, don't
Yeah, I
go
would
there. Nah, don't go
there.
there. What I was gonna say is we ain't going. What I was gonna say is
but thinking you're a turtle and you're a tiger. Yeah, there you go.
But the thing is that if you go back, if you read that, if you listen to the definition that you just read, you really just revalidated and actually added on to the validation of the healthy delusion, because it's based in the idea that the statistics state that this is not what's going to happen. Based on statistics, you are going to be the product of the environment that you've always seen and that you've always heard from that the product
I don't
would be.
consider that incontrovertible evidence though. Like
that's the key, because the statistics could be wrong, and it could be a lie.
But the idea,
make you feel like,
but
you
even
can't
if the
get out.
statistics are right, like
exactly,
like
it's the idea
like
that
the probability, if once it gets 51, the probability like that is more probable that
you will be such and
such.
such.
But so even if it's like 60, even like say marriage, like
it's like 52%.
You healthy delusion is walking in saying that we're going to last until we
we will never be divorced.
But we won't get divorced because percentage wise,
based on the facts,
based on like what percentages say, is that you're inside the 30 percentile, you're in the 20 percentile. So naturally, you're probably going to get divorced. Like if we're going by logic, if we're going by like what reality.
But what Tone was saying is that's not irrefutable. If it's 30% chance, you have a great chance.
Right,
of
but then we use an adjective. We didn't just say delusional. We didn't just say like if you're delusional. That's why I think that like.
Oh nah, lay on the plank with him. No, lay on the plank with him.
I ain't laying on no plank. I don't think delusion is that. I think
no, but that's why we're not saying just delusion. That's why I said healthy delusion.
I think we're
like
arguing
the adjective
about
makes all the difference. Like
it is about semantics. I'm just trying to get an understanding in my head because those two words just don't go together for me. I'm trying to get an understanding of the concept.
Just understand that you're wrong.
I don't think.
I'll take that.
I don't think it's that simple.
No, like I said, like when you add the adjectives to it, where like the evidence does say that you probably will not make it out of X, Y, and Z.
Especially when you look at it, more than likely.
Yeah, but that's why it's healthy. Like if it's unhealthy, that means that like again, this is the rapper that's mortgaging his shit, that's recording in his bathroom.
And then it's
that's
also,
unhealthy.
And then it's
but
also,
the chance of making it as a rapper is way like lower than like your marriage survival.
But let me add on to
like,
it. Let's add on to
lower.
it.
So being a rapper, I can see that actually being the 2 versus 1.
But let's add this to it. Let's add this to it. So not only do we get the statistics of the likelihood that you will become a product of what the environment is, then you're literally that's reinforced to you by the news, because all you see is that cycle being perpetuated.
You went to a Title I school that also says that your neighborhood is labeled at risk.
Exactly.
Section
Everything that you've seen and heard about this scenario means that you are doomed. That your future is already written in stone, and you will be a product as it is always equated to, or almost always equated to, based on the history and
okay, so let me break this down real quick. So say like you got a teenager who's growing up in a house. His parents are, they're not making the best environment, but he believes that he's going to be successful. His school work has showed that he's doing good in school still. He's still smart. Like he's just naturally smart. He's still doing good. Do you think it's a delusion for him to believe that he's not going to be in that situation?
It's a healthy delusion.
I don't think it's a delusion. I know you're saying healthy delusion, but still, we got the main word in there is delusion.
Let me ask. I got a question. Let me ask this, and this might even sum it up even better. Do you think that healthy delusion is absolutely necessary for everybody? Like, or are there some people who even had doubts about it, like, I can't be shit
for a high level of success? Yes.
And I mean, it depends on what it's not necessarily just because you don't necessarily, like he said, if you come from a 2-parent household in the hood and you're already making good grades, you may not need that delusion.
But what if you know the chances are stacked against you, but you still choose to go? If you're not delusional about that.
But what I'm saying is, you may not.
But what is your goal though? Like so. Now let's talk. Like, where are you trying to reach? So again, like, if you're looking for everybody, let's wipe the slate clean. Everybody that is like successful at a high level had to have healthy delusion
to believe that you
there's no way that you should have done it. Only way that you reach that is by healthy delusion.
So I was
just thinking about the Kanye West, like Kanye,
like literally whoever that you want to like name that's making over a certain amount, certain dollar amount,
or they just held some type of crazy title.
And
you said they wasn't born in it, so I was gonna go there. And ask
even let's go with Kanye.
Fits in there,
let's go with Kanye. Kanye was making 5 beats a day for 3 summers.
That don't mean nothing.
But
listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. That is not a delusion. That is a work towards, like, you're working towards something that you believe will happen.
How many other niggas that did that exact same?
And the thing is, the idea that you would become Kanye, which he already knew that he was going to become Kanye. He preached that the whole time. That's the healthy
Kanye
delusion.
Was
where the actual
he actually was.
If you're shooting,
he probably had unhealthy delusion.
like
when you watch the documentary,
this
nigga had a film crew following him around when everybody was saying, "Nah."
And nigga was trying to figure out how to pay rent, paying a film crew.
Yeah,
I think delusion is unhealthy. Period. I think calling something like delusion period is unhealthy. Like, because if it's like, even saying healthy delusion is like kind of like it cancels itself out.
If you look at it,
cancels itself out for me.
I mean,
I understand what he's saying.
No,
do you want to say, like, is this a better word? Going against statistics. Like, I don't like. It's all like we're all
delusion. Don't mean going against the statistics. So yeah, that would be a better way to word it.
It's more like, because the thing is if you it's almost it's the exact same idea of like shooting for the stars. If you're shooting for the stars,
even if you don't,
it takes a level of delusion to believe that you can be up there with the stars.
If you have to believe, every rapper that made it had to be delusional.
Yeah,
your chances of making it was like 0.01%.
Yeah, then think about how long it takes. You had to how long as long as it takes.
But do you think the chances of getting out the hood with the right education, if you surround yourself, are the same?
It depends on where the trajectory is out the hood, because you can move out of the hood and still be living paycheck to paycheck. But if you're gonna, what it is being an idea of successful coming from out the hood.
You're talking about like Kanye level, like super high, not just
or
like.
Even like all right, so hold on. All right, so again, let's just go to fucking statistics. Naturally, poor people continue to be poor, middle class continue to be middle class, and the rich continue to be rich. That is what it is. At the highest rate, that's what happens. Most people do not like change stratospheres. Like, to do that, you are an outlier. That is what it is. And so to actually
that's
do
what the statistics say.
Like, no matter which way whether you went from like poor my bad.
Hey, bro, why you?
Yeah, I was yelling. I was turn
up on these niggas. Fuck,
you trying to understand.
You turn up on these niggas.
Where the chair at, man? Where the chair?
No, don't give him. He gonna hit you with that shit.
Oh yeah, I got it back here in case the nigga had to goddamn.
Hey, bro, I get what you're saying. Like, I understand. Like, there is statistically, it's not as probable.
So what is the like debate? Like, is it? So we're just getting into a semantic. The reality is that should you try to defy statistics to be successful as you could possibly be? Like,
I actually want to understand the concept.
By like the idea of like, how do we define out the word delusional? But like, if we're speaking to the actual concept. The concept is that, hey, to actually defy statistics, you have to think that you can defy statistics and probability.
Hey, you gotta believe in yourself. I believe that.
And that shit be delusional as fuck for a lot of niggas.
Hey, we might gotta agree to disagree, but
hey, Toe, my favorite Bible verse is Mark 9:23, which states, "It is done as he believeth." Mm-hmm. And that speaks to delusion.
It's mad, niggas. Go ahead.
No, that Bible verse actually speaks to delusion, because it's saying God is going to write into your will as you believe, and it's basically saying believe that shit. That's my favorite Bible verse. So.
Sometimes, but it's also mad niggas that believe and manifest and like put all they marbles together in them stones, and they ass be like just out there. Still, where like it just it's a roll of the dice to me, and like the reality is that we don't play and think about how much luck actually deals with how where we're at in the scenario that we're going to.
I ain't going with
luck. Well, then, all right, so if you believe in fate, then go with fate.
I believe in favor. And I believe favor ain't fair.
That boy done been to church.
Yeah, I mean, again, like
that the faith the size of a mustard seed.
Yeah,
big.
Wow.
those are words that also are interchangeable inside our semantic conversation. That means the word fate.
Ha! Faith
Turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor.
Yeah. A mustard seed. You know what I'm talking about?
That sounds like fate to me.
A mustard seed.
Oh man.
All that shit just mean the same thing. But then we'll get into like this deeper conversation about.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good one to leave in the comments, like as far as what people think. I'm curious, like what do people think as far as like healthy delusion? Is it
y'all?
Yeah.
Let us know. Tap in down there.
Did you have to have healthy delusion to defy the odds?
Tone's mom loved me back.
Hey, yo, we gonna land the plane. Well, yeah, I'll get into my topic of the week. I'm gonna remix it a little bit, but my initial topic was based on the concept of it was based on the concept of insecurity and how do you cope with it. But I just realized we didn't get to my topic last week, and it kind of goes hand in hand, and which would be like a message or a letter to your younger self. And the initial concept was like, how are you dealing with insecurities? How do you cope with them? And how has that changed over the years? Which, and my question of message to your younger self would be like, face them fears. Like, one way I've learned to cope with insecurities is just going at them head on and like just attacking it. And the more you do that, the less of the more you build up that weakness and turn it into a strength. So it's just, you gotta trust your gut. You gotta, and just face them fears a lot of time, because that's the only way to make it not an insecurity, is to try to get more secure with it. And so that's one of the coping mechanisms.
Well, I got a question to kind of go a little bit deeper into, or so that you can unpack a little bit deeper. Where do you feel your insecurities come from?
I mean, a lot of places. From one of the biggest ones is not feeling like I was heard. We was just talking about like going back to like younger days, like knowing I was right about some shit, but then because a person is older than me or has more authority,
being too young to be right.
Even though I know I know I was right. Motherfuckers stood. It's even where I get some of my stubbornness from. I've dealt with people that knew they was wrong, and because of the position of authority they was in, I couldn't be right. It's like, I'm big, you're small. I'm tough, you're like, it's that. And so a lot of my insecurities come from like, motherfuckers told me I was wrong this whole time, even though I knew I was right. And that's what, that's like something where like I have to like just trust. Like, I've learned to just, it don't matter what nobody else say. If I believe it, it's a good chance I'm gonna come. And there's times I've been wrong. Like, I ain't always right. I ain't always right.
Tell him you're wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we all be wrong. Ain't no way that you can sit here and act like, hey, go with your gut. Nah, your gut ain't always right.
You're like, you be wrong.
Nah, I wouldn't try to OD on it, but shit, at the end of the day,
hey, we all be wrong.
Nigga, he don't even open his eyes all the way, and he look at you like, you want to know? I don't know.
And so like that's what like a lot of my insecurity come from. It's just like, and also me, I was always a little different. Like, I always didn't necessarily feel like I fit in. Like, I was from, I ain't gonna say middle, but I ain't, I ain't come from nothing, like, so to say, like some people. So like, even going to middle school, I felt like I was not black enough to hang out with the black kids, but then the white kids, you'd be too not white enough to hang out with them. So it was always this little middle ground where I kind of had to like figure out by myself and walk that. That was a journey I had.
How you deal with the white girl?
You don't. You don't. You don't. That's how you deal with them.
Nope.
You don't.
I just do that. I
we ain't go. I'm not even going to force you to unpack.
You don't.
I'm not going to force you to unpack.
You don't. Yeah. Yeah, what's in the past is the past, but. But.
Oh, so you talking about like current?
Hey, man, I'm trying to be serious here, man. I'm trying to be. I'm trying to have a serious. Trying to have a serious moment talking about my insecurities, but that's where I'd say a lot of it come from. And like you say, just over time, you just learn to trust yourself and trust your authentic self. And then you come into spaces where that authentic self is celebrated. And you're like, oh, okay, this is what good, this what it feels like. And then you just learn to chase that. Like,
you know something that's dope. I guess I'm gonna go second. Where I think that you're asking a great question. So for me, I think that this is a dope conversation to have. But what I've kind of realized is that a lot of the insecurities that I have, that especially ones that like I didn't know I didn't know this was a thing until like something reared its head, and it's like, okay, now I have to face this, and I can see that there's a level of insecurity that is making me believe a certain way or making me move a certain way, and it's all rooted in some level of insecurity. And I just being completely transparent. I was talking to Q one day a while ago, and I think a lot of mine come from the fact that I don't like the person that I was, insecurities when I was younger. And I think a lot of mine come from the fact that I don't like the person that I was when I was younger.
what
So
you
a
mean?
lot of the things that I
probably like the
did,
first thing is more or
a lot
less
of the things that I did when I was younger
for me,
have
it's
made me
always admitting
insecure
that I'm insecure. I think
about,
that,
and
like,
I would say insecure about
you said a word earlier,
men,
validation, right?
insecure about
I am a
my
artist at heart, so I seek
insecure
validation.
about me expressing
Like, that's a
emotion.
natural part of it. Like you're always like creating for approval.
Yeah. So like there's things that I say, like, you know what I mean, that I didn't always stand on the same level of moral ground that I stand on, which was completely understandable, which it's easy to understand that, you know, when you're younger,
Oh yeah, you
you're
gotta.
gonna make these dumb decisions and you're gonna do things that like that don't stand strong to the character that you've built in the level of morality and discipline that you have grown into. You didn't always have that level of discipline. So when when it comes down to like I'm more of a traditional guy, right? So like when we talk about like we've had the conversation. I'm the type of dude that like if my old lady was to have her friends over, I'm gonna separate myself and put myself in a different space. That's naturally what I think is the right answer, and it's gonna be the thing that I'm naturally just gonna do. You know what I mean? That's also like me. I've never been a guy that had female friends. You know what I mean? It's all of this is rooted in my childhood, because during my childhood I didn't necessarily make the right. Just think about the idea of like, this is not one of my scenarios, but just think about the idea of like being the guy that when you was younger and you like mess with your homeboy old lady when you were younger. You're in high school, like you dated her after he dated her. You know what I mean? There's a level in which, like, for me now, that may have been something that I possibly would have done when I was younger. But I stand on a moral ground now that, like, that's completely out. You know what I mean? There's nothing that would ever happen. So I just, and I feel like I'm deviating, or digress, but I realize that a lot of the insecurities that I have, they're rooted in my own decision making as a youngin'. And what, in my decision making and what I would assume other men would do, because everybody don't stand on the same moral compass that you have. So you would have this more insecurity in that area because of the things that you've done. So you pretty much put that on other people.
Let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this. You say like I feel like the insecurities you have now are based on like the growth from then to now.
Right.
If you can think back to back then and some of the insecurities you had, what were those based on?
Oh, those were always based on living. I'll say lack, living in lack.
Okay, so
Living in
feeling
the
like
not having what you assume the people around you.
the
You know what I mean?
same equal amount or
right.
equitable amount to your surroundings.
Right. So it was always like me not being able to have the nicest clothes and nicest shoes, and so like I would be insecure on how I looked, and so in me being insecure on how I looked, I would act out. I was a clown. You know what I mean? I was a clown, and then it got to a point to where I realized that like, damn, nigga, the cool kids laugh at me in class, but they the ones hype about getting their report cards. You know what I mean? Smiling and all of this, and then so it's like, damn, at this point maybe they're laughing at me. And so that is, you know what I mean, that was one of those things that I learned that kind of got me over that piece. But what I realized what I realized, let's say to go back to your initial question, it was how are you coping with
Or how do you
productively
cope with your
coping with
insecurity?
your insecurities as an adult. What I'm actively doing now is it's pretty much just standing in, and it's crazy because I was gonna disagree with what you had to say, but it's pretty much standing in and being confident in the decisions that you have made and the character that you have that then bleeds off into the people that are close to you that you don't have to really worry so much. You know what I mean? If this person is close to me, there's a reason that I've allowed them to be close to me for this extended period of time. You know what I mean?
No,
If
that's
if
fact.
if this is a decision that I've made, there was a reason that I made this decision, and maybe I have to go back and reevaluate. But it's not that it was a bad decision. It's just that now it's time for me to do something different. You
No,
know
I
what I mean?
fuck
I
with
could
that.
be like insecure with like my position in the previous sector. I was the insecurity was like me thinking about doing something different. There was a level of comfort. There was a level of I knew that I was thriving in it. I was good. I was really good at it. You know what I mean? And then for me to take this step to go to an uncomfortable place, there was a little bit of insecurity. That was like, you know what I mean? Even still, just like, damn,
Is this the
can I
right
really do
decision?
this? Is this the right decision? Is this actually going to be moving me forward? It's a lot, but then it's like, okay, well, shit, man. You look back and be like, the proof's in the pudding. You know what I mean? The proof's in the pudding. These things I've checked many boxes along the way, and I've continued to progress these decisions, you know what I mean? And I'm taking enough time to sit back and think about it and weigh the pros and cons. And it's not necessarily I don't want to go with the like stick with your gut. I don't really want to go with that because I would say stick with what you've analyzed. Stick with what has been tested. Once you've tested the thing, once your gut's tested, then maybe you should go with your gut. But if your gut's not tested, then you don't need to go with that. And if the proof ain't been in the pudding, then your gut been fucked up a long time. So you may not want to go with that. You know what I mean? If the proof ain't in the pudding, then your gut ain't been serving you right. So you may want to go to the drawing board and find out some
Been
other
eating that
way
whack
to
pudding.
come to
Gastric
this
bypass
decision.
surgery.
That'll get it done. That'll get it done. I'd disappear if I had that shit though, so I don't need it.
With gastric bypass surgery or
Yeah.
insecurity? What you talking about?
I said I'd disappear.
If what?
If he had gas.
Nigga, I played basketball. I'm starting to go fund me for Johnny Gastric. I ain't gonna lie to you. I think it's healthy for you. All right, so we're talking insecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one probably like the first thing is more or less for me it's always admitting that I'm insecure. I
Mm-hmm.
think that like you said a word earlier, validation, right? I am a artist at heart, so I seek validation.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a natural part of it. Like you're always like creating for approval. And like that's something that like in general, like I when you understand what your insecurities are, then you understand how to motivate yourself and what motivates you, and like you can manipulate those things. So for me, like that's a major thing is that um an insecurity is a default, not like it's detrimental only if you don't take the time to actually address it and believe in it. Like if you can't recognize whatever your insecurity is, then that's probably going like it's gonna fuck with you. It's gonna fuck you up. You're gonna start projecting. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna start doing like you're gonna act out off of like all these different
It's
little
gonna be
things. You ain't gonna know why the
reoccurring,
fuck it's happening.
and it's gonna
But
keep
once
on
you actually
coming
like
up.
start realizing, all right, so damn, that made me feel away.
Them natural defense mechanisms gonna
Oh
start
damn,
kicking
like
in.
I feel weird right now. Where the fuck did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I think that that's a big thing. So like as I said, like I think that it's important to address like one believe in your insecurities and then address them. And for me, what has always been because your question was more or less like how do you deal with them, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, what has always been my thing is that like I like to isolate what I feel is a weakness and then attack it aggressively.
Mm.
And so like that's for me, I prefer somebody to tell me if I'm doing bad. So then I can hyper focus on that and then get better at it. Right? And so like, damn, I might like disagree at the moment, but then I'm gonna be like, oh shit, well, let me strip back and take a look at it. I'm gonna focus on that, and then I'm gonna attack that thing. And then it's going to be like the fuel for me to like get better at a thing. And yeah, I don't know, like for me, like that's kind of like the main thing in with me in insecurities. Is like I said, like I like to address them. I like to believe in them, understand it, see where it comes from, and then attack it to make sure that I'm trying to be. Well, I just attack it to where I build up confidence in whatever I believe my deficiency is.
And where I want to ask you that same question too. Where would you, the same one that I kind of piggybacked on Johnny with? Where do you where would you say that your insecurities, or where would you say that root is from? Like if they're just, or one specific insecurity that you may had, and you can think of like where it was caused. What was the cause of said insecurity? Where did it come from? Where did it date back to?
Like I don't know if I have like super specific insecurities. I think that most of my insecurities are rooted in the idea of the concept of not being good enough. So then I always try to make sure that I am good enough at whatever said thing is. And that's where I think I brought up previously, like the idea of like the imposter syndrome. And where like is you believe that, damn, am I good enough to be in this situation or this scenario, or smart enough X, Y, Z, or am I being an imposter in this place or whatnot? And so then it kind of forces me to make sure that I'm overly knowledgeable, or like you know what I mean, like that's the thing that always drives me. So like every single thing that I'm good at, it kind of derives from a point of insecurity. Where like drums, I started playing drums in a community band, so I'm already at a default. So I got to make sure that I'm better because of shit. I can't even read music, so shit, I got to be nice. Like if I'm gonna overcome that thing, shit, I got to be nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, but that's with every single thing. Like that's kind of like how I attack most things.
And I think that's dope because we definitely share that kind of thing. Like, you know what I mean? The idea of just being the weakest link. The idea of being the weakest link is like something that I've always like, because when you come up poor, or in a poverty stricken, when you come up in poverty stricken areas and you're poor, there's not really much that you can have confidence in. You know what I mean? If you ain't the best ball player in the hood, you know what I mean? If you're not the best ball player in the hood, best football player in the hood,
biggest trapper, best rapper.
Yeah, there's not many things that based in your surrounding that you would be able to like say, yeah, but I'm the best this, you know what I mean? Or I'm really good at this. There's nothing that like the hood brings out that would say like, oh, well, yeah, you're good at, you know what I mean? Outside of entertainment spaces.
Like, that also used to be like a major defense mechanism for me as well, where like if somebody was X better than me, I would like, well, nigga can't hoop better than me, or nigga can't like drum better than me, or like nigga can't like something I didn't invest my actual time in shit. Like these external things that make you better than me, but like you ain't better than me at this. This thing that I care about. And that was definitely always a justification for insecurities growing up as well.
And I'm gonna say that in the hood and just the culture, they don't push the things that will make us better. Like ain't nobody like celebrated. When we came up, wasn't nobody celebrated for being on a roll. You know, you couldn't get that. That wasn't bragging rights. You couldn't be like, oh, well, you hoop better than me, but shit, I'm on the A honor roll, nigga. What's you know that wasn't that wasn't the thing. That shit didn't have no point. So even if that's where you put your like, oh, I'm a smart nigga. When it come down to it, and you're like, I'm in the hood trying to validate myself. I can't even hang my hat on like the thing I know I'm good at, which is grades, and I gotta go out here and pretend that I'm a football player or pretend that I like music. Like I can't even hold my hat on like, no, I went to school, I got grades, and I'm focusing on my education.
True. And I'll say like I think like if I was to like go deep into like me, I think that probably was like one of my bigger things. Was like specifically that concept that you talked about, where like dumbing myself down for the surroundings of the people that I'm around per se.
Right.
Where I think probably like the one thing that I've always like since probably like man, I was like a baby. Like all my nicknames always came around me being really intelligent. From like a kid to a baby, then you know what I mean? Like I tested real high when I was in elementary school, went to that academically gifted, blah, 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 blah. Shit like that. And so, in me going to like high school and trying to like find myself,
Ain't no points for being smart.
I was like trying to figure out where my place was.
Mm-hmm.
And me figuring out that place was like, oh damn, like most of like the niggas that's quote unquote cool. And mind you, like you start learning like, damn, the cool niggas ain't even from like from the place that they pretend that they're from.
Mm-hmm.
One, damn, you actually way more rooted inside like the space that you're from than they are. Inside the shit that they deem themselves to be cool. But then to what you said, those are also the same niggas that they actually from a 2-parent household in the suburbs, and they know to make good grades, but they like have the money to put up the persona of like having the good baggy jeans, the Chipoles, the whatever like the cool shit was at the moment. And like that was something that I had to like evolve out of, and to where I don't know, I don't think like probably until like I touched in college, at like middle of my college, I kind of like started re-embracing like the idea, like no, you're like super smart, like that's a piece.
Nigga, you ain't that fucking smart, bro.
What? I appreciate it, but nonetheless, like even if I don't like say the word super smart, I think that I am smarter than what I would lead myself on to be. And that's more or less, you know what I mean.
And it's crazy that in the hood that we do that all the time. Like, and I ain't trying to piggyback off of you because I would never like I would say that like I won't say that. I was, you know what I mean? The teachers always, and like I did, like get put up a grade, and then I went back because I was too immature, you know. But either way,
Can't have this nigga up here with these 11th graders. Boy, he wildin'.
Oh no, this was in like elementary school. But what I was gonna say, yeah, is that like it's crazy where you see bro, the hood, and this is the thing that people talk about for the culture and all this stuff, bro. It's no need in us romanticizing about the hood. The hood, bro. I swear, like you can have some great people come from the hood for sure, but the things that it emboldens and the things that it praises, it's not like. So you sit here telling me that like
it ain't gonna get us.
It was a difference because the people in were in my neighborhood we was fucked up, but we were also going to school with and riding the bus with kids. Well, no, hold on, when was this? This is in high school. Middle school. I was going to Coolwood, and we was fucked up. We lived. I don't know if you know that one way in, one way out school across from Thomasboro, Ravenwood Hills. Lived in that joint for majority, pretty much all of my elementary, middle school years. Those was years in there. And but the kids that you would see, like you said, that were the cool kids. They had all of the clothes, and they was acting like, you know what I mean. They would talk and stuff like they was from the hood, but literally, nigga, y'all live off Mount Holly, Huntersville Road, like 2-story cribs, grass. You got your own yard, backyard fenced in, all of these different things. Y'all was the cool kids, and the thing was is that like we praised at least, and I'm gonna speak specific to my upbringing, like, and that's what will make you veer away from trying to show your intelligence is because there's no praise for intelligence. It's all praise for ignorance. All of it is praise for ignorance. The nigga that can get everybody to laugh the most. The nigga that can run, they escape the police. Like niggas was literally, that was like the biggest thing in the neighborhood. Like the way we got this joint pulled so where when you under the fence, you can come down this hill and slide. And if you running fast enough, you'll be able to run and just slide down and go right under the fence. Running from the police, from stealing shit across from these trailers.
So
you know what I mean?
You made it.
Oh, I was, bro. I was, you know what I mean.
Boy, say,
I done dipped on them real tough back in the day. Real tough. I had a problem back in the day, but
hey, let me ask you guys this before we, if you had a message to your younger self in regards to some of the insecurities that we just talked about, what would that be?
That's a great question.
Q.
Well, you can say my name. Tone over there. Tone, nigga, that little kid at one time. I don't know.
So he was a kid too.
Yeah, nah.
I ain't the only
But,
nigga that was
all
a
right,
kid.
So,
They all was kids.
yeah, but nah. A message to my younger self, and how you get 2 questions also.
I told y'all I was gonna do that. Yeah, let's pivot.
But there's this thing called consent. I didn't consent. Does this mean that he?
Hey, real, do you consent? Come on, say yeah.
To what exactly?
Say yeah. To the second question.
Oh yeah, you good in my book, bro. I ain't mad at you, bro.
I got consent.
That's consensual.
Nah, go with the you.
What?
Go ahead. Go. You see, you gotta pay attention to this man's body language. I already be knowing when he going left. I be seeing it. Go ahead, bro. Answer the question.
A message to my younger self. What would I? All right. So, are you framing this in the sense of like the insecurities you had? Is that what you? Is that how
Just
you
a
like
message for yourself, bro.
Yeah, just in general. Yeah, any
Just a
message.
Don't let him frame your question. That nigga just spoke for you, and then you say, "Yeah." What was you saying?
Just a message. Just a message to your younger self. It was supposed to be a previous message. We ain't get the previous
Stop
topic.
bullying this nigga.
I ain't bullying
You see
nobody,
how-
bro.
How am I getting bullied? I'm the nigga that asked 2 questions. I got my second question.
But then he made your question his question.
It's not his question. It's my question. He assisted.
That's
My
good,
man, you
That
see,
was the
this
alley.
man was always the what they call the nigga that like boast up the
Instigator. Yeah,
when I tell you, bro, he's
instigator.
always been the biggest instigator,
Hey
bro.
man, I wasn't gonna tell you this, but man, Newton called you a bitch.
Yeah, I wouldn't take that if I was you. If it was me, I wouldn't take that shit for real, for real. Just letting you know, it wouldn't
but
go
he
with
might
me.
have called him a bitch. But
Go ahead, bro.
but nah, yeah, a message just in general to my younger self.
Yeah, just in general.
I don't know. I guess I don't have anything pre-planned, so I just kind of like flow at the moment. A message to my younger self would be um, yeah, believe in yourself. Like that's super generic, but I think that there is a lot of power in that. Like having that healthy delusion, understanding that even though I guess I never was a kid that was stricken to my environment, but I also didn't think past my environment. So maybe that does make me stricken to it. And I do think I would like to say that a lot of luck landed me in spaces. And so there we go. Plan better. If I was to have a message to my younger self, would be plan better, be more intentional at a younger age. Because of truthfully, I'd never even thought about college until my senior year.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that I got applications into the colleges that I got applications into was because of it was senior application day or whatever the shit was. And they made all the seniors go into like the computer lab and just like go to these different little things. This wasn't a thing that I had thought out early or I planned for, but it's also because of I come from a family where nobody ever went to college. So I was the first generation. So at that moment, it was more or less graduate, and if you graduated, then hey, that's good.
You did it.
Maybe you went to the military or some shit like that. That's what my dad did. So yeah, maybe that's what you're supposed to do. But for me, I think that it would have been be comfortable in yourself, plan better for sure. I think that those 2 things, because of I think that as an adult, I've become way more comfortable in who I am. But that's not a thing that I can say that I've just always lived within. And and I think there's a lot of power in that in itself as well. Where you get way more respect from being authentic than you do like trying to be cool, trying to be a thing, whatever thing is. Like you can like list that out to be a litany things. So yeah, those would be like my major things that I would say to myself for sure. Believe in yourself, you know what I mean. Be yourself. Believe in yourself.
Plan better.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah, that's dope. It's crazy. I was just sitting, just kind of like thinking, and like, if I would have told myself the things that you was going through, there was a certain man. Well, bro, the way, I guess the way that, man, this ain't even really what I would tell my younger self. I had to come up. What I can tell you is that my life is literally like a result of like favor ain't fair. You know what I mean? Like a whole bunch of fuck ups turn into flowers. You know what I mean? It's crazy. It's crazy how things happen.
Like be
You
luck.
go to high
Luck.
school, drop out of high school, get your GED, go to college. It just so happens that drop out of college because you got this charge pending. You know what I mean? Hey, drop out of college. I didn't even drop out. I just left. I ain't dissing, none, unenrolled, none of this shit. I just left and didn't come back.
It didn't show
And
back up.
and then I ain't even show back up. I just stayed. I didn't never go back. And I had just earned enough credit hours to be accepted in the military. So back when I went in, you had to have if you got a GED, you had to have at least 17 credit hours. I had 17 and a half credit hours off of that first semester. That's the only reason why I was able to get into the military, which from there, everything has come from there. Let loans, if I would have been still, I would have been. So what I would say is, for me, it wouldn't be something about like how to become a more like a successful person, those types of things. For me, it would be more of like it would be more of a on a confidence thing. It would be more on like just like, nah, you all right, man, you all right,
Shit
you
gonna
all
be.
right. You know what I mean? Stop comparing yourself.
Yeah.
Stop comparing yourself because you're good where you are. You're already good enough, and you know what I mean. The only person that ain't believing it is you. The only person that ain't believing in is you. You feel like you got so much to prove, but it's already proven. You really already proven it, but you just don't believe it yourself.
No, it's a
That's
big one.
probably the one that I would go with for myself. Is like, hey, you beating yourself up. Still to this day, still you beating yourself up. People around you value you. You're just not valuing yourself.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, I guess I already said,
You put
face.
the pin in it.
I'm gonna answer
I'm
my
joking.
question first.
I'm
Jeez.
joking.
I'm gonna answer my question, but I said, face your fears, trust your gut. I'll add to that, be authentic,
Mm-hmm.
and the sooner you can, face your fears as your authentic self, you're gonna find the freedom on the other side of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and like I said, I didn't start, feeling like I was myself. I was my real self until I like dealt with, and faced some of them insecurities,
Mm-hmm.
admitted them, admitted this is an insecurity. What does it root to? Now let me actually address it, face it head on. And sometimes, sometimes you get humble. Sometimes you like, yeah, that's something I need to work. But once you have that, and once you realize, get on the other side of it, the root of it, there's freedom in that because then you know where you need to go, how you need to act, how you need to move. So I'm gonna just, tell my younger self, hey, face them fears, and there's a lot of freedom on the other side once you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh yeah,
Tone,
yeah. I got one real quick. I would tell myself, you don't need anyone's validation to be you. Like that was really my issue when I was younger. I definitely like, and even to this day, I'm just now getting to a point where I'm really, I mean, I've been there for some years. I've always been different. So even when I like from elementary school on and everything, so it's like making friends and everything was always different for me.
When you say
But
different, what do you mean by that?
I was a nerd. I was into stuff everybody wasn't necessarily into. I wasn't like the awkward guy. Like even when I was in like elementary school, I hung out with the girls, but I wasn't the gay dude. Oh, it was other stuff going on. But like I hung out with the girls. Like it's some.
Oh, Q, you seen that woman that or that yeah the I don't know what the lady or the one that was teaching
Why told me
Tone how
you
to
Oh
think
be
it
a
is?
nah,
man.
no,
That's
don't even
crazy.
try
Why
it.
So
told
that
me you think it
Don't
is?
even try
yeah,
it.
it was
Don't
Jeff.
even try
Crazy.
Jeff tagged us in the joint. It was the woman that was teaching Tone how to be a
Nah,
man.
she teach me how to be no man. I'm sorry.
You see?
Nah, man. Like, I
y'all
learned a lot
boys
from girls
crazy.
growing up though. Like, that's I don't know. That gave me a good understanding. That's a whole nother story.
Ain't
But I
What you
nothing,
would
learn
definitely
from
tell
girls
myself,
ain't
growing
nothing
up?
wrong
I
with
ain't
that,
about.
Tone.
We
Hey man,
about out
tell
of
him,
time.
Tone, you ain't finna unpack
Yeah,
shit
man. I ain't
else.
about to unpack nothing today.
You ain't finna unpack
I just want to know what
shit else.
Johnny. What you learn from girls growing up?
what was the wrong hole to put it in?
What about
Oh
you?
man,
What did I learn from women?
Nope, not that hole.
Hey,
Wait a minute, how you squeeze a woman?
try to think. Let me try to think. And we ain't talking about your mom and those shit. We talking about like girls, your peers,
Yeah,
women,
girls.
your peer group women. Yeah, growing up,
Mm-hmm.
I know it's very specific.
I can give you
that's
one real
crazy.
quick.
Hey.
Tone, what you learn from girls?
Hey, girls pay attention to stuff in a way we don't.
What you mean by that?
It's the same way that you know what I mean by it. That's why, like the same way your woman observes stuff that you don't
What did
observe.
I learn from the girls back in the day?
Like the same way your woman can observe stuff you don't observe. It's a different type of knowledge that's there. That it was something to explore to me, and that's how I seen it. I learned.
I guess I don't specifically know what that means, but
There's a different type of they pay a lot of the details they pay attention to are different than how like the stuff that we pay attention. We might miss a lot of stuff that women
they
pay
pay
attention
attention
to.
Listen, bro, he has the unpacking for that conversation. He's been taught. So what did you learn from her? I want to know what you learned.
never learned nothing.
You ain't
Why
learned
you
nothing.
look like that? Why you
Man, I ain't never learned a
Dang, so
thing.
you older, you ain't learned nothing from none of the people around you. Like,
no talking about
Know
from
that.
the peer group women, like your peer
yeah,
group
you
of
ain't
women.
learned nothing from.
What did I learn from them?
I just gave an answer.
They ain't
What you
teach you
mean?
nothing.
No, I said I.
Oh, okay.
Can I give my answer?
You already
You
gave
already
your
gave the
answer.
answer.
For what, women? Oh, that was a
Well, you
joke.
talking about men?
That was
What was you
that was
talking
a
about?
joke. Hey yo, hey yo,
Yo.
You said
hey
it.
yo. I
We
did
put
not
Hey,
you
we
on
at the
say.
end of the
the
episode anyway.
Hey
You ain't
yo,
gonna tell what to start
hey yo.
with.
This man being goofy tonight. Nah, I mean,
You said it.
I ain't say nothing about no man, bro. I ain't say nothing about
You
no.
said women. I ain't know.
No, I said it was a
They.
joke. What women taught me, I remember there was a point where I didn't really know how to dance.
Mm.
And I had two girls, it was middle school,
Yeah,
but
that's
they was
true.
like, "Nah, this how you dance," and they taught me how to, how to catch the beat, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Gotcha.
But that's one
I
very
guess they.
specific thing I learned.
I
So
think
at first you was talking about them.
I don't know no
But now you
thems.
talk about.
I don't know no thems. What are you talking? I don't know.
What?
hey,
What you
y'all
mean by
stupid,
that?
bro.
Go ahead.
We
I
so
guess though, where really the one thing that I could think of is like it was almost like with my relationship with women, they were literally like even though they were assured me, I would still be. You know what I mean? The same thing go back to like the message to myself when I was younger. It's the same thing. Like they, you know what I mean? I wasn't too bad off. You know what I mean? So like they would allow me to know that I was good enough with the presentation that I had. I just didn't believe it.
Yeah. Nah.
So
I
pretty
mean,
much they
if
just
I was,
taught you that you was the shit, and you ain't believe it.
but I was about to say, well, my answer, like, if I was to give like a better answer, like, or a
He
real
said a
answer, I
better.
was kind of being ingested at the moment, but I would probably say it probably would air closer to like there's more value in you than what you see in yourself. Um,
Mm.
because yeah, I mean, like, I think that I probably was like, so this would be like a backstory. So from fifth grade to eighth grade, I was homeschooled. And because I was homeschooled, like that's a big piece of like the maturation of like talking to girls and
Mm-hmm.
socialization and X, Y, and Z. So getting like being thrown back into high school,
learning
it's
curve.
like it's a learning curve. So like I wasn't like readily like just like ready to hop in and like I had to like I knew how to like just get into the bag and shit like that. But you have like girls that be like attracted to you and you be kind of well for me I would be awkward or not understand or like
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much went to school with my cousin Misha for pretty much every single year. She went to dance with me, then she went to bed with me. She'd be like, "Yeah, my friend X Y Z, da 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 da."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And though I mean, in hindsight, a lot of it probably was like the awkwardness of like every single guy
Yeah.
during that time. But for me, I thought that it was like, you know what I mean, the craziest thing. But at the same time, I think that there's awkward spaces in middle school and shit like that where you be like, damn, like you look weird, or damn, like I have like lower self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And what broke me out of that is just like the fact that, you know what I mean, like whatever it was about me, females liked it. So.
And that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I
He
just
gonna try to take it
articulate
to
better
like
than him.
he was just gonna take it into like I'm the shit type of idea, but no, it's just literally it's they provided reassurance.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they
You know
taught
what I
you
mean?
about another part of yourself that you didn't necessarily like.
Oh, they taught you that there is value in the thing that
when you
you
say
don't
they, what do you
necessarily
mean by
value.
that?
Cheese.
Hey, wrap it up. Hey.
Cheese.
I don't use that word. I ain't know what that meant.
Hey, man, this man, hey, look, the views of Quint do not represent those. But to
And
be
the views
fair,
of Johnny does not represent me. I only like deal with women born with vaginas. When niggas start saying what?
See, hey, he about to get his canceled, bro.
yeah, man, I done let this man do it again, bro. I'm gonna
Bruh.
say, hey, that was the To
Hey,
Be Fair
before
show.
we leave out, I
No,
like to also say that understand that this is the port was the first LGBTQ
hey, man, hey,
organization.
Oh no!
Like
Listen to
rap
what he
group
said.
that we had lesbian presenting male rapper first. And we had a gay rapper also, and none of us looked at him any different.
The facts.
So
The facts.
And we called him he and she was her. Or
Let it go, bro.
Bruh.
Go
hey,
ahead. Let
hey,
it
call her
go.
bruh.
hey,
Go
look,
ahead.
hey, look, hey, look, hey, look, hey, look. Before we get taken off of YouTube, I want to say
Please.
thank y'all for watching this far into the To Be Fair show. If you've gotten here, you obviously understand what we're saying.
You go to.
This
You
been
go to. We
full,
appreciate you.
in-depth conversation. Hopefully, you see all the sides that we presented. I want to say, hit the like button if you enjoyed our conversation. Hit the notification button so you'll be informed of any upcoming shows, live,
Comments.
Sundays, comments. Let us know what you thought before. If Q pissed you off, tell him, not me. Tell him.
And as well,
No.
Don't
Johnny
let
P
Follow us on
for all of
Facebook.
them days and weeks.
Follow us on
OnlyFans for
Facebook.
Johnny P.
Turn his mic down.
Did you understand?
Nah.
Remember when you was like, I made a rap for all of them days and weeks at OnlyFans Johnny P.
No, ain't no link gonna be in the bio. Ain't no link gonna be down there for that. Ain't no link. But if you want to get more, follow us on Facebook at D2B Fair Show, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and on YouTube at D2B Fair Show. This was a great episode. Thank you guys for watching. I am your host, Johnny P.
Over here, real.
It's Q.
And we out.